I don't believe, as an American, regular Democrats steal an election. I don't believe that regular Republicans steal an election. I believe people who only care about party and power. I believe people like progressives do. In fact, progressives, it's practically a bylaw in any of their manifestos. You want some examples? How about just before we went on break on the weekend? Here's the illustrious Ed Schultz on his radio program.
I tell you what, if I lived in Massachusetts, I'd try to vote 10 times. I don't know if they'd let me or not, but I'd try to. Yeah, that's right. I'd cheat to keep these bastards out. I would.
Of course he would. I mean, why not? His partner in crime also longed for some good old-fashioned cheating. Watch this.
You know, in the old days, maybe I shouldn't be hearkening back to the old days, if the Democrats faced this kind of a disaster in the works, you'd go back to your ones, the people you were sure were going to vote Democrat, right, and you'd make sure they got to the polling place. You'd get them lunch, you'd get them a car, you'd make sure they got there. And in some cases, you'd be buying people to get them, not officially buying them, but getting them there as block secretaries, as block captains. You'd be getting them there with street money. Legitimate, but it's a little bit old school. But I hear, talking to somebody today, there aren't people up there in Massachusetts like that anymore. There aren't those automatic Democrat votes out there, those ones anymore.
Oh, the horror. I mean, he's heard tell that you can't buy votes in Massachusetts anymore. What's next? Acorn won't allow underage prostitution? I mean, what is happening to us, America? It doesn't bother these people because they've been told it's okay by people like Saul Alinsky. It is imperative that you understand the history of the progressive movement. And Saul Alinsky is a hero to the progressives and the extreme left. Hero is not too strong of a word. Here's how I know that.
Well, to reach back to one of our heroes from the past, from the 60s, Saul Alinsky.
Okay, hero. Saul Alinsky, this guy. This is the guy who teaches the progressive movement that the ends justify the means. You do whatever it takes, no matter what. There are no ethics. It's just the end. Here's the important thing to understand. It's not just about the elections. It's about all of it. And you're seeing it right now. You steal $2.3 million from banks, like the guy who wrote the blueprint for the progressive utopia that they're using now at the White House, Robert Creamer. You steal 2.3 while you're spreading the wealth around to the poor, well, then it's okay to commit fraud. Healthcare, behind closed doors, shady deals, bribing politicians, bankrupting America. It doesn't matter. It's for the common good. Just get it done. Do you remember last week? Remember the whale protesters? Okay. I mean, these guys actually attacked, rammed, and sunk a Japanese whaling ship. And if I may have an ADD moment here, Your Honor, I mean, whales are great and everything, but when you're risking life and limb to stop someone from catching a whale, I mean, whose daddy didn't love them? Maybe it's just me. Okay, so the boat sank, all right? The Japanese ship sunk this boat over here. This is fantastic. This boat is actually from Paul Watson's organization. You might ask, who's Paul Watson? Great guy. A progressive. Yeah. Have you seen the show Whale Wars? It's a reality show where he routinely resorts to physical violence against humans to save animals. He has reportedly said, and I quote, "If you don't know an answer, a fact, a statistic, then make it up on the spot," end quote. And, quote, "There's nothing wrong with being a terrorist as long as you win. Then you write the history." Got it? Attacking a civilian boat. Ramming a bill through Congress. Voting 10 times in Massachusetts. Being a terrorist. Blow yourself up. Don't worry. Just win. Because then they can spin it in the history books. What was it Michelle Obama said? We know that we're going to have to rewrite our history. Oh, they are. They'll save the whales. They've achieved health care for all. They fundamentally transformed America. And as we learned in Time magazine, there was no outcry. Remember in Time magazine, Year in Review, there weren't even pictures of the Tea Party goers. How do you tell the story of America last year without those pictures? You just win. And then no one's around to ask those questions. Americans are starting to wake up to it. Even the Democrats. Even the Democrats in Kennedyville. They know something isn't right. And that something is the uber left, the Van Jones communist-loving radicals, the Chairman Mao admirers in the White House, the Ron Blooms of the world. Ron Bloom, who's our industrial czar. Excuse me. He says that he agrees with Mao that power comes from the barrel of a gun. America, do you believe that? I don't believe the majority of Americans think like these people do. But they don't care. Why? Well, if you don't believe these radicals, these revolutionaries, these people who admire Che and Castro and Marx, if you don't think that they think they're superior to you, that they will run you over if you get in the way of their doing good for the greater good, then you don't understand history. One of the things that I think that I want to bring to the table this year on television is this one word: remember. Remember. Remember who you are. Remember where we came from. Remember the truth. But it's hard to remember the truth when the progressives are in charge of the textbooks. I've never been told, I've done television now for 4 years, and we've done some pretty shocking things on television, but I have never ever been told I have to prepare an audience for what they're about to see. I've been told that on Friday, I must, starting today, prepare you for what you're about to see. I want you to gather on Friday, your family, around the television. Because on Friday, if you don't understand the progressive movement and where it has led, if you don't understand Marx and Mao and Che and Stalin, oh, on Friday, by 6 p.m. Eastern, you will.
A lot of people seem to think that this concept of the gas chamber as a tool of social policy was invented by the Nazis. It wasn't.
To his places of work, to his places of recreation. We will attack the enemy wherever he lives. He preempted Al-Qaeda by 30, 40 years.
Within 1 year, several million people. I believe it is certainly comparable to the great genocides of the 20th century.
My family was in the living room watching television, and they see my grandfather. Of course, they're happy, to see him walking, and they realized that he was walking towards the wall.
It wasn't a mistake. It was intentional policy to exterminate people.
He said that his dream was to become a killing machine.
Our great teacher, great leader, Chairman Mao.
Planned and premeditated mass murder.
And nobody was interested in knowing about it.
If you're not producing as much as you consume, or perhaps a little more, your life does not benefit us, and it can't be of very much use to yourself.